What up YouTube? Mile High Campers coming back at you again with another video. Today we are going to be doing another segment in the boat project. We are going to be reupholstering the side panels of the boat. I'm going to be taking them apart in this video, and I'm going to be showing you how I was able to reupholster them without using any sewing techniques. This is all going to be stapling. So this is going to be kind of a lengthy video, but I wanted to make sure to get everything step by step for you. If this is your first time tuning into the Mile High Campers channel, be sure to check out all of our other videos. We've got several videos in the boat project playlist that should be helpful for you as well. As always, be sure to check out the description for any critical information, as well as links to our store to check out some of the cool swag we got on there. And thanks again for tuning into the Mile High Campers channel. Alright, let's jump into this. Okay, so obviously everybody's panel is probably going to be a little bit different. Mine here was a two-piece panel. So what I'm doing here is simply removing the screws to separate the two panels. Once I had the two panels separated, I begin the extremely painfully time-consuming task of removing staples. You're going to be spending a lot of time removing staples, so you might as well grab a couple beers, pull up a chair, and just get ready to enjoy removing some staples. The cheapest and easiest way that I found to remove the staples was just simply using a flathead screwdriver and a pair of needle nose pliers. Here's a shot of the backside once all the staples are removed. Now all I have to do is peel the vinyl off the front of the panel. Alright, once we flip our panel over, we can now see it's not quite as simple as just peeling the vinyl off the front of the panel. There's several different colors here. There's overlaps, and there's some staples on the front as well, so we're going to have to carefully, piece by piece, dissect this panel so that we do not damage the foam that's underneath the vinyl, because we're going to want to reuse that. Alright, so basically what I wanted to show you was once you peel the vinyl back, you'll see here's your foam. Okay, and you want to be real careful here because you don't want to damage the foam, but because what you actually have happening here, where this little seam is, there's staples underneath the foam that go like this, and that's what's holding this piece of vinyl there, and to where you don't see staples in the seam. This piece of white actually should probably come out to over here someplace, and it's stapled underneath. It's the first piece that gets stapled, then you come back and staple the gray. So what we have to do is be real careful, but we want to try to peel back this foam so that we can access the staples, and then we'll peel this out and then we'll lay the foam back down. I was able to do the other panel just basically pulling it, you know, about that far all the way down. And also we'll need that room obviously to put the new panel on, the new piece of vinyl on. So however you want to do it is up to you. You just got to be careful. Obviously we don't care about the vinyl, so we can cut it. You can even just kind of pull it back with your fingers just a little bit, and there you can see the staples are exposed right there. Hopefully you can see that on camera. But your staples are here and here. So we'll work up the staple. Obviously this would be a lot easier if we were just replacing the foam and doing new foam probably, because you wouldn't have to worry about this part, and installation would be a little bit more precise with the new vinyl. But we're trying to save a little money because it is an older boat and I don't want to dump a whole lot of money into it. So alright, so we've removed those staples. Now this piece will tear out, and then it exposes the white that's underneath, and as you can see there's the staple as well. Once we do it all the way up the seam, we'll be able to get both pieces of old vinyl off. It is time consuming, it is annoying as hell, but it can be done. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'll show you once I've been able to get the pieces off. Alright, so we got all the vinyl removed. Gonna have to make a little repair on the foam there. But other than that, came out pretty good. And now would also be the time to make sure your speaker hole is gonna work for your speakers if you're gonna change those out. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and start back here. This will be our first panel. We're gonna do these white, blue, white, and then the last two will be blue. Okay, like I said, I'm going to start at the back here on the side panel with my first piece of vinyl. Of course, all side panels are going to be different, so you're just going to have to evaluate where you want to start your first piece because it is critical. Based on what I saw after dissecting my side panel, this is where I want to start. So just keep that in mind. You're going to want to pay close attention to where to start your first piece when you're doing this. Obviously, you don't have to be as intricate as I'm about to be with as many different seams. It could be a lot easier if you just covered the whole panel in one piece of vinyl. It would be easier if you broke it into 2 or 3 seams. As you can see here, I'm just going to follow what the factory did. So again, I'm going to start here. My first piece of vinyl is oversized. I'm going to just trim it to roughly the angle of the curve here. Begin the stapling. Obviously, I started with a larger piece because I want to be able to cut it down versus having too small of a piece eventually and then it not working out. Once I've got the piece of vinyl cut, I'm going to go ahead and start tucking the vinyl underneath the foam. I'm not tucking it under the foam that I'm covering, but I'm tucking it under the second piece of foam where the next piece of vinyl is going to go. Once I get it tucked in and kind of work to the shape of the foam that I'm covering, then I'm going to start stapling it into place. And I'll be doing that where the vinyl is tucked underneath the second piece of foam. By doing it this way, we will be able to hide the staples from view underneath the seam. Okay, at this phase I'm going to flip the panel over, and then I'm going to start to pull and stretch and staple the vinyl to the back side of the panel. Now I'm cutting the second piece of vinyl, and here I'm going to be tucking it into the seam, and we're actually going to be folding the vinyl back onto itself and then stapling it under the foam. This can be difficult around this curve here, so you really got to pull it and stretch it to see if you have the staple in the right place so that it ends up laying flat without wrinkles. It can be challenging. I had to pull it up a couple times to get it to actually fold correctly. But I'm going to go ahead and let this part play out so you can see everything that I did to get it to work around that corner. Then I'm also going to be putting in a tack strip that you'll see. It's a thin piece of what looks to be cardboard. The tack strip is going to be stapled onto the back side of the vinyl, but underneath the foam. Therefore, when we fold the vinyl back over, it hides the tack strip, the staples, and of course covers our foam, creating a nice crisp edge to our seam. I'm also going to be cutting relief cuts into the tack strip so that it can go around the corner easier. Okay, now that our seam is done, I'm going to start stretching and stapling the vinyl over our foam to complete this segment of the panel. Okay, once we have the front side of the panel done, we're going to flip it over, and now we're going to work the vinyl over to the back side of the panel. I was using a heat gun there to get the vinyl to stretch. You can use a heat gun to stretch the vinyl. You want to be real careful though that you don't get it too hot because you will burn through it. One mistake I made here was that I should have stretched some thin foam over the edge of the panel. And what that does is give a layer of protection between the vinyl and the wood so that the wood doesn't poke through the vinyl. Now, foam's expensive, so that can get a little costly. However, you can use vehicle headliner material, which you can buy from your local fabric supply store, and this tends to be a little cheaper than foam and works just as good. Again, doing the same thing we did on the last piece, I'm installing the tack strip here on top of the back of the vinyl underneath the foam, and then we're going to fold the vinyl over and it's going to create our seam. Using a little hot glue here to reattach the foam to the tack strip. You could probably also use some spray adhesive. Just getting it started here. Once I get a few staples in, I'm going to flip it over and then kind of give it some tension and pull it to the other side. In this particular case, my second piece goes over the top of the lower part of this blue vinyl, so I don't actually have to wrap it over both ends. I'll cut away the excess, flip it back over, and then finish stapling the back side. So here's our two-color seam, and all those staples you see right there that are exposed, they're going to be covered up by panel number 2. Here I'm starting our next vinyl piece, and this piece is going to be expanding over a wide opening in the panel, so it was kind of tricky to get positioned. I don't show it here, but I actually had to reposition it a few times, so don't get frustrated if it doesn't go down the first time for you. Just remember that sometimes you have to reposition your vinyl, and that's okay. This whole panel took me about 8 hours to do, so trying to condense it down into a video that was going to be somewhat short for YouTube was kind of difficult, so I really hope that this at least gives you a good idea of what I did. I couldn't capture everything, obviously. It's key to put a few staples in just to hold places at certain points while you're doing this, so that you can pull the vinyl and stretch it to make sure that it's going to stretch the way you want it. So that's basically what I'm doing here. A relief cut, maybe even multiple relief cuts, may be necessary to get the vinyl to stretch around a curve the way you want it. Here I'm going to use the heat gun to lightly heat up the vinyl. I'm also going to cut some relief cuts here so that I'm able to stretch the vinyl around these curves where our storage pocket's going to be. During the stapling process, be sure to flip the panel over to make sure that the vinyl is stretching the way you want it and any wrinkles are coming out as you stretch. Here I'm starting my next piece of vinyl, and I'm using a piece of the old vinyl to get the curve right. Here I'm just tucking and moving the vinyl around into position kind of where I want it to see how it's going to fit. Next, I've got a few staples here just to kind of hold it in place. Again, check for wrinkles in your vinyl. Kind of pull the vinyl to see how it's going to stretch so that you know what direction you need to pull it in to remove any wrinkles. Next, get your tack strip down and finish your staples. Here again, you could use hot glue or even some contact adhesive to attach your foam to the tack strip. One thing I forgot to mention, guys, be sure you're using stainless steel staples so that you don't have a rust issue later on down the road. Here again, just stretching the vinyl to see how it needs to stretch over the foam, and then I'm going to place one staple here just to hold it in place. Here I'm putting some folds in the vinyl to get it to stretch around this point. The folds can definitely be seen from the back side of the panel, but from the front side of the panel they cannot be seen. Alright, so we're done with the first panel here. Now we're going to move on to the second panel. I'm going to start by working around this front corner, and as before, I'm putting folds into the vinyl on the back side, stretching it so that there are no folds or wrinkles visible on the front side of the panel. You could possibly do relief cuts here as well. This is just how I decided to do this particular panel. Alright, so I've got the front done. And what I've done here is put 2 staples in the back holding the vinyl in place, and I have made a cut down the center, and now I'm just going to work my way down this panel on each side, stapling it down. Alright, as we approach the back here, I'm not actually going to finish it because this actually wraps around the first panel when it's actually installed, so we're going to have to leave that undone. At this point, I've reattached the second panel to the first panel, and now we're going to wrap the material from the second panel around the first panel so that it creates a smooth transition. And that's why it's important that when you're taking these panels apart, if you have multiple panels like I did, that you pay close attention to how they need to be put back together. And here's a quick close-up of how those 2 panels came together. Now all we have to do is make the storage pouch to fit within that large oval. Okay, so I told you there was going to be no sewing on this project, and I meant it. To create the storage pocket, I got creative, went to Walmart and found this cargo net for 10 bucks, and now I'm going to show you how I utilized it to make the storage pocket. First, I flipped the side panel over, then I laid the cargo net into the area where the storage pocket was going to be. Next, I stapled the cargo net to the back side of the panel and cut the excess net that was not needed away. Then I took a blue piece of vinyl, flipped it over, and stapled it to the back side of the panel, creating the back of our pocket. Flip our side panel over, and this is what you get. Now all we need to do is reinstall the panels back in the boat. And that's it, guys. We're done with the side panels. I hope that video was helpful for you. Like I said, it was kind of difficult taking 8 hours of footage and trying to get it into like a 20 to 30 minute video. But hopefully that gets the job done. As always, guys, be sure to check out the links in the description to our store to check out some of the decals, shirts, and hats that we have for sale and support our channel. And be sure to stay tuned because I've got another video on some other interior panels that I reupholstered that I'm going to put out in one video. And then also we're going to be doing the exterior vinyl wrap on this thing, and it came out amazing. So be sure to stay tuned for that video as well. As always, guys, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Peace!